You know that phone in your hand or the coffee you're drinking? Have you ever really thought about how they got to you? It's all thanks to this incredible hidden system, an invisible network that honestly runs our entire world. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and take a look at the fascinating and sometimes fragile global supply chain.
So, our story kicks off on a very specific day, March 23rd, 2021. A giant container ship, you might have heard of it, the Ever Given, gets itself completely wedged sideways in the Suez Canal. Okay, so one ship in one canal. Doesn't exactly sound like a world-ending event, right? Oh, but you'd be wrong.
Not one single event ended up costing the global economy an estimated $9.6 billion. And get this, that wasn't the total cost. Nope, that was the cost for every single day it was stuck. All of a sudden, this invisible network we all depend on was on the front page of every newspaper, and it was totally, completely paralyzed.
And that brings us to the real heart of the issue, the big question we're tackling in this explainer. How on earth is our global economy so fragile that one ship in the wrong place at the wrong time can trigger a multi-billion-dollar traffic jam? The answer, as you might have guessed, is buried deep inside the supply chain itself. Right. So to really answer that question, we've got to zoom in and see what actually happens when just one tiny link in this massive global chain decides to snap.
The chain reaction was, well, it was immediate, and it was just massive. For 6 whole days, more than 400 ships were just sitting there, dead in the water. And they were carrying everything you can possibly imagine: oil, furniture, cars, electronics, you name it. The ripple effect was insane. Shipping costs from Asia to Europe shot up by 400% as companies were just scrambling for any other option. It was a perfect and very, very expensive wake-up call about just how interconnected we all are.
So, what is this system that the Ever Given managed to break? Well, a global supply chain is basically the entire journey a product takes. And it's not just one company doing one thing. It's this enormous, tangled web of suppliers, manufacturers, shippers, and stores all working together across borders to get something from a pile of raw materials into your hands.
Okay, so how does a product actually make that unbelievable journey? Let's trace the path, from the very beginning all the way to you. When you boil it all down, a product's journey has 5 main stages. You've got to source the materials and then manufacture the thing. But the physical part, warehousing and shipping, is only half the battle. That 5th piece of the puzzle, information management, that's the digital glue that holds the entire thing together and keeps it all moving. Let's look at a couple of these up close.
Just think about those first 2 steps for a second: sourcing and manufacturing. Take Apple. An iPhone isn't just made in China. It's assembled from parts that come from more than 200 different suppliers in 43 different countries. Or look at Toyota. They don't just build cars in Japan. They have over 50 manufacturing plants scattered across 28 countries. It's wild, right? Modern products are basically citizens of the world before they ever even get to us.
Now, if your parts are coming from 43 different countries, you can imagine things can get complicated. So the big question for businesses is, how do you manage all that complexity and build a chain that doesn't just snap under a little bit of pressure?
We've all heard that old saying, right? A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Well, in a global supply chain, that's not a metaphor. It is literally true. For a company like Apple, a flood in Thailand could shut down production. For Toyota, a fire at a factory in Germany can bring an entire assembly line in the US grinding to a halt. The risks are absolutely everywhere.
And these risks come in all shapes and sizes. You have the huge headline-grabbing stuff, like a global pandemic or, a ship getting stuck. But you also have supplier risks. What if one of your key parts makers just goes out of business? Or market risks. What if people suddenly stop buying your product? And then there are regulatory risks, where a new trade tariff can completely upend your entire business model overnight.
So, to manage all this, companies usually follow one of 2 main playbooks. On one side, you have the lean approach, which was perfected by Toyota. The goal here is pure efficiency. Cut out all the waste, keep almost no extra inventory. And it works great in a stable, predictable world. But on the other side, you have Agile, which is what companies like Zara and Amazon use. Here, the goal is all about speed and flexibility. They use real-time data to react instantly to whatever the market is doing. For years, lean was king, but huge disruptions like the pandemic have shown everyone that being super efficient can also mean being super fragile, and that's forced a huge rethink.
And this quote from Taiichi Ohno, the guy who basically invented the Toyota system, it really gets to the core of that lean idea. It wasn't just about being cheap, it was a whole philosophy about getting rid of anything that doesn't add value, which, in a perfect world, is a beautiful concept. But, as we've all learned, our world isn't always perfect.
Another huge part of the strategy is simply location, location, location. For decades, offshoring was the name of the game. Move your factory to a faraway country like China to get cheaper labor. But lately, we're seeing a big shift towards nearshoring. That means moving operations to a country nearby, like a U.S. company setting up a factory in Mexico. The trade-off is pretty clear. You might pay a little more for labor, but what you're really buying is resilience. You get your stuff faster, you have more control, and you seriously cut down the risk of your products getting stuck on a ship halfway around the planet.
So if supply chains are facing all these new risks and all this complexity, where do we possibly go from here? Well, the answer, as with so many things these days, is all about technology.
A massive piece of the solution is something called the Internet of Things, or IoT. Now, that sounds complicated, but it's simple. It's just about making regular objects smart by putting tiny sensors in them that can talk to the internet. Think smart shipping containers, smart pallets, smart everything.
And this isn't science fiction. It's happening right now. A great real-world example is the shipping giant Maersk. They've started putting smart sensors on their refrigerated containers, so now they can track the exact location and, more importantly, the temperature of a container carrying something sensitive like medicine or food in real time, no matter where it is in the world. That gives them a level of visibility and control that was just impossible a few years ago.
But just seeing what's happening is only step one. The next level is predicting what's going to happen. And that is where artificial intelligence, or AI, comes into play. The power of AI here is its ability to chew through unbelievable amounts of data to spot patterns and make predictions that no human ever could.
And the undisputed master of this is, of course, Amazon. Their AI algorithms are constantly trying to predict what you're going to buy, sometimes even before you know you want it. This lets them move products into warehouses near you before you even click buy. That's the secret to how they can deliver things so ridiculously fast. They're not just reacting to your order, they're anticipating it.
And the last piece of this tech puzzle isn't about giant data centers. It's about empowering the actual people working on the ground. And that technology is augmented reality, or AR. This isn't about strapping on a headset and escaping to a new world. It's about adding a digital layer of information right on top of the real world, usually through smart glasses or your phone.
And companies are already putting this to use. The logistics company DHL gives its warehouse workers AR smart glasses. The glasses literally show the worker the fastest route to an item and what it looks like, right there in their field of view. And the result? They saw a 15% jump in efficiency and a big drop in errors. It's all about making humans better at their jobs. So when you put it all together, what you're seeing is this really crucial shift. For decades, the whole point was to make the supply chain as cheap and invisible as possible. But now, after getting burned by things like the pandemic and the Suez blockage, the goal is totally different. Now it's about making the supply chain resilient and transparent. The new mission is to use technology to see problems before they happen and adapt on the fly.
Which leaves us with one last big thought. We depend on this incredible global network for almost everything we buy and use, and it's only getting smarter and more connected every single day. But at the same time, the world is also getting more and more unpredictable. So the question is that deep connection our greatest strength, or does it actually make us more vulnerable than ever before? That's something to think about.